Rising WHPS. Welcome to another episode, actually our first episode of 2026. I am your host, Janine Estes, and I am a shareholder and principal official at Tax Love Taxes. I recommend that you all visit our website today. That website is www.taxlovetaxes.com. Today we're here to discuss topics surrounding filing your tax return. It is April 1st of 2026, and we now are entering the 2-week time frame to get scheduled and process your return with no interest or penalties if you do owe. Today we're going to discuss the new credits that you really want to be interested in, and while you are listening to hear and memorize and maybe jotting down the topics we cover today, it is important for you to understand the overtime credit, specifically for those who are not salary. So you are to use your wage and income from the year, and it calculates a credit which is very beneficial to those who are very close to owing for the year. And once that credit is on there, it computes to 1,000 or a couple of thousands, maybe 3, let's say, once you put the overtime credit in there. There's a credit for new vehicles of 2025 make and model or newer. You will need the VIN number on that vehicle and the date of purchase to get the cardinal interest on it. There is an account for babies born on this return. If you had a child born January 2025 up into December 31st of 2028, yes, you still have time to conceive and receive this credit. You will get a $100 savings account in that child's name once they're born. It will be given to you, and you have the option of adding up to $5,000 a year, which is a good idea if you're filing a tax return. You're taking $1,000 of your tax return and adding it in there. So by the time that child reaches mature age, 16, 17, and 18, they aren't working with their own savings from the jobs they've acquired, but they have a stipend of money to prepare for school and not have to work while learning. Let's talk briefly about the difference between filing a tax return and receiving a notice and receiving an audit. Okay. A lot of times you go in and you file a tax return and a lot of money is left on the table if you're sitting in front of someone who's not fully equipped to process the magnitude of tax returns. Each tax return is different. There's no identical tax return, no matter if you're identical twins. They're different in the income made, the children, their age, companion, if they're married on that tax return, etc., etc. A notice is a letter, a 2 to 3 page letter from the federal, state, or city requiring you to give them just a little bit more information before they distribute the funds to you. They want to make sure that you're the person that filed this tax return. So they're asking you to send in your driver's license, a 1099 if it's attached to a profit and loss statement, and a W-2 if that's on the tax return. Once you send that information in, it's a 2 to 6 week process depending on the way that you correspond. If you do it online, it's drastically quicker. If you're doing it by mail, I'd say 2 to 6 weeks, because in the 2025 tax year, the state agency upgraded their system, which yields a quicker response than the 16 weeks in the previous years in filing. Audits come in a pamphlet. They're like this thick, right? And it is something where you are to send in additional information because they have thumbnailed your return. It's not a process where they just grabbed your return and they want to manually gather information. No, this is an actual audit. I'm familiar on those, not that I've processed the tax returns, but I've responded to them. And instead of running into the back of the office because you're unequipped to handle it, I like to face forward. It's important for you when you're filing a tax return with monumental money on it. You click the box for the audit guardian. That's a different terminology on different systems. But the audit guard is a level of protection on this tax return. When you're dealing with someone who makes a magnitude of hundreds of thousands of dollars, the $60 audit guard is protection. It's protection not only for the taxpayer, but the tax preparer. Because I am regularly processing tax returns. So when I get that phone call, hey Janine, I got an audit, I'm like, send it to me, let me take care of it, let me read what it is that they want. And the majority of the time it's identity verification. It is a notice versus an audit. An audit is, again, thick. It's a booklet, a pamphlet, right? And you're going to take that pamphlet, and you can use the pamphlet and the notices to use the audit guard, which is a $60 additional fee on your tax return, and speak to a CPA trained individual who will email you and ask you to upload your information. It's important for the taxpayer to take this step because that's who the CPA wants to talk to. They do not want to talk to the tax preparer. They want the taxpayer. It's important for you to call, leave your number on the voicemail, leave your email. They'll email you. You'll upload your information. That looks like your driver's license and your W-2. Maybe a few electronic paid statements verifying your profit and loss statement if you have that attached to your tax return. And they create the verbiage to correspond with that agency to get your refund released to you. Let's talk about the tax form that is an annual getaway for tax preparers, right? It's where you go and you are amongst the greats. You go and you learn different credits on the upcoming tax year. And it's a inviting space for you to learn different technologies wrapped around filing a tax return. Tax Love Taxes is 100% virtual. You upload, you call in, you share your email. An email is sent to that email address, and you upload your information virtually. After you've uploaded your information virtually, that's when the true magic starts. It is received to the tax preparer of your choosing. There they will begin to process and typically call you to gauge and gather more information on the processing of this tax return. Because if you knew every credit, you would be filing your tax return yourself, right? So it's important for you to be transparent with your preparer, letting them know the discrepancies and the actions of the year. That can be a new child, a death in the family, various situations where you can write off a deceased parent if you had a parent that passed in the previous year. You can write off different titles to becoming self-employed. That may be event planning. That may be an esthetician. It can be tax preparation, right? You can be a tax preparer and prepare and process a profit and loss statement on your practices. The tax form is located in different states around America, North America, United States. And at those tax forums, you learn. So from, let's say, 9 to 2, you're in learning mode where you are in a large conference hall and you are learning new techniques, new practices, depreciating vehicles, clean car energy credits, solar panels, all of these different things. And you're learning and earning educational credits for each tax form that you visit. You get the opportunity to be introduced to different types of systems and softwares to use to process the return, kiosks that they use, a lot of different techniques. So it's important, if you're a tax preparer or you're interested in learning, that you attend a tax forum. It's worth the cost. I implore you to visit taxlovetaxes.com, where we teach tax preparation. You can learn from the greats who have had over decades of years of work and portfolio of clients that we've maintained throughout those years, and work from home. You know, if you have a great following on these social networks, it's important for you to take that following and use it to your advantage by letting them know that this is something that I offer. You do the same if you were doing a hair care product or a new lip scrub or whatever it is that you're using to make extra money with. Come join us and learn in greater details. All of that information on our website. We have Q&As. We're going to get into Q&As from our previous airing shows. And as frugal as I try to be, let me get into some of the immediate responses that I've had from the previous shows on WHPS. I had a caller call in and they asked specifically if I could help them with their tax return. This database, this desktop, is access to the clients that I filed for the year. There's no magic link for me to see what is going on in a tax office around the corner or down the street. Your information should be protected, right? So unless we open your ID.me folder and I read the transcript, that's the only light bulb thought that I have to help. That comes with the cost. That's why I'm imploring you to use the website for your consultation with me, because you pay the tax preparer to process that tax return. And even though there's a revolving door of taxes to process, there is downtime to answer your questions if you didn't ask that question during your tax consultation. Another thing I want to touch bases on is the different notices being sent in the mail. There's some that's absolutely necessary to respond to and others that isn't. There is a home heating credit notice that is going out to taxpayers asking them to supply documentation on the home heating credit. Because I process tax returns for some time, I know that if you make over $60K for the year, you don't qualify for this credit. So it is unnecessary for you to respond to it if you made over $60K in the year. Your adjusted gross income on your tax paperwork may be under $60K, but your W-2 is above it, right? So having a household with 6 individuals and the married couple makes, married filing jointly couple makes $300K, you're not going to qualify for that credit. So every notice isn't necessary for you to respond to. However, it's important for you to reach out to your tax preparer because they should be able to explain in greater detail to you those things. I implore you to take the time and visit our website. I implore you to take the time and schedule your tax consultation, because even though you can file in the summer months and the winter months if you choose, getting on that calendar and schedule with your tax preparer saves you time of a juggling act that final week of filing that most people consider the final week. Instead of having client on top of client on top of client, you get that personal time, right? That 2 hour block of attention on you and your situation. And it's important for you to consider those things when you file your tax return. So if you have a 40-year-old and if you're 60 years old and you have a 40-year-old laying on the couch in the basement, wake them up, tap them on the shoulder, get up. Have you thought about retirement? Have you invested in an IRA? So when you reach my age, you're you're essentially taking care of yourself, whether that's 40-year-old that's getting up and going to work every day. Having those tough conversations are necessary when it's time to file your tax return, because you want to make sure that you are discussing with the children in your life, whether that child is 40 years old or 20 years old. And if that 40-year-old is living at home with mom and dad, you should make sure that they're setting money aside for their 20-year-old or their 18-year-old getting ready to go to college. Those conversations are necessary. A lot has changed on this tax return to benefit taxpayers who get up and go to work every day and who pay taxable dollars, and whether that amount is adequate enough to yield a tax return when it comes time to file. It's important for you to know the credits that are available to you, and if you don't want to stress, allow Tax Love Taxes to take the stress out of processing that tax return for you. That's what we're here for. And I am grateful to be able to fulfill you all with the knowledge base of things you need to know before you sit in front of that person and allow them to file your tax return. It's important for you to inquire with them, their knowledge base, to make sure you're getting all the credits in. Now, they're not just throwing a fuel credit on your tax return that's never released to you, and then you're juggling the IRS and the call center agents within that company and their knowledge base on the topics. So while processing tax returns for over a decade, I ran into some of the best and worst tax situations. And although I'm not saying this will be your situation, it's important for you to know and value the person that's in front of you processing the tax return. And to make sure that you're getting a copy of your return. That looks different. So for Tax Love Taxes, because we're 100% virtual, we are in the app in your phone. You have 24/7 access to your tax return, 365 days a year if that app is on your phone. Open it up. You don't have to get in contact with Janine and she's on her summer vacation, her summer getaway, and I may be on Do Not Disturb. You have access to it in your phone. Open that app, put in your credentials, which majority of the time is saved in your device, and there's your phone. There's your 1040 for the year. Purchasing a home, purchasing a car, which are all things that I am working towards. It's important for that tax return to be available to you to make those things happen. And for those plant workers, hospital workers, casino workers, who work with over 4,000 people within their workplace, a lot of the times those people haven't filed tax returns for years. It's not one tax return the tax preparer is processing. It's a multitude of years. And that may look differently to people who go into a brick and mortar and someone's paying great detail to one person. You don't know their situation, right? So that situation may be 6 years worth of tax returns, and you're sitting there waiting for the preparer to finish with this person to process your return. And that's one of the benefits of going 100% virtual, because working different shifts and different hours is different. So you may be just getting off work and doing your wind down time to go to sleep, to get up, go to work again, and you can upload that app, upload your documents, and rest assured that we're doing the magic behind the scenes. Working in the tax realm, it can be difficult if you allow it. You know your threshold of capabilities, and it's not as important as who filed your tax return. It's more important to ensure that the credits and deductions allowed for that person are available, which takes a knowledge base, which takes an understanding of reading that 1040, knowing that there's always something to add to a return, even for an individual like me, and I processed returns for some years. You may look at the tax return that I processed. Let's say you're given a second look at the return, and I didn't add a credit on there for child care, dependent. And you may look and be like, oh, she didn't add this. That's an extra $500. She missed out on this. Let me add it to the tax return. But if you haven't processed tax returns for some time, then you don't understand that if a profit and loss statement added to this tax return is on there, that child dependent care isn't going to compute to much of anything. So it is understanding the processes and knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. If you've had legal or professional services throughout the year and it required you obtaining a lawyer and going to court, win, lose, or draw, that's something that's write-offable. You can write that off. Just like I can depreciate an auto that I have that's mine, I can depreciate this Apple laptop, right? Because I use it for work. I can depreciate this desk. I can depreciate this microphone. All of these things are continually being used by other individuals, but building an income on a tax return. So this microphone may be a $300 microphone, and I've written it off on the first year we purchased this, but the continuing years moving forward, I'm depreciating this item, I'm depreciating this laptop, I'm depreciating this desk, etc., etc. Let's talk about the itemized deductions really quick while I have you. The filers in April are those who own property. They have a substantial amount to file on their tax return. These individuals are not the baby mamas in the beginning of the year, and they're just trying to get the credit on the kids to beat the baby daddies. These are married individuals. These are individuals who have a substantial amount of income, and they're making sure that all of their paperwork is aligned and ready to go with their tax professional. So their processes are more in depth. They may be a week to process this return and not 2 hours, depending on the magnitude. These filers in April are not typically standard deductions. They're itemized, because when you are 60 plus and you have a substantial amount of money, you exceed the standard deduction. You're now itemized, and that itemized can be a lot of different things. That may be a lot of older people go to the club, which their club is what? The casino. That can be from the home. That can be at the actual location. When you have a winning, you write that winning off with a gambling loss that is attached to that itemized deduction Schedule A form. And that amount, depending on that amount of winning, exceeds the standard deduction, now taking you into itemized deduction, yielding income on your tax return. So it's important for those that haven't filed years or holding on to years, even if you're not feeling the best, reach out today. Supply me with your email address. The links will be emailed to you. You can upload the information. The process is easy. You may lay in the bed and your return is being processed. You may get up and go to work and be at work making $35 an hour and your tax return is being processed. There's no need for you to miss money to schedule an appointment in person when it can be completed 100% virtually. In my final few thoughts, I want to share with you all the OIC form, which is the offer and compromise on a federal or state return when you owe. Let's say you process returns and the IRS process them, and then they reprocess them from whatever the tax preparer has assessed you at owing to whatever they feel you should owe. Situations like that happen. And OIC is offer and compromise form, where you are agreeing to supply them with your bank statements, supply them with your household quantity, meaning the people in the household you take care of, your responsibility, car interest on the vehicles that you own. They're very attentive and detailed on that information before they allow you to be a process individual in the offer and compromise. That fee is $250 on the federal level. It is $100 on the state level, depending on the state. They agree that you are eligible for this offer and compromise, and then you're responsible for 20% of that debt. Let's say you owe $62K in a year, and you offer and compromise. 10% of $62K is $6,200. 20% is $12,400. So $12,400 is what you're offering and compromising on that debt that you owe. It's important for you to have that money within 90 days. So if you need to pull money from your life insurance, pull money from your Bitcoin, say stocks and bonds, whatever it is, to have that 20% available to pay. Again, it's an easy process when you have someone in front of you that have been there before. It's not deja vu. It's something that can be explained easily and efficiently. My name is Janine Estes. I am the host of this tax preparation show on WHPS Television 33. It's always a pleasure. Go out there and be great, peaceful, and uplift another in your environment. Thank you for your time today. My phone number is 313-677-1013. You may call. I will answer. Visit our website for consultations. www.taxlovetaxes.com. There's a page directed for Q&As and individually highlighting each individual and principal official in the company. It's always a pleasure. I'm grateful for the time to be here today, the knowledge I shared with you. So go out there and go get them, Tigers.